Paralyzed human girl visits shelter. What this aggressive dragon did next shocked everyone. The shelter's air was thick with the scent of ash and something sharper. Fear. Behind the steel-barred enclosures, dragons of all shapes and colors snarled, hissed, and scraped their talons against reinforced flooring. This was no pet adoption center. It was where the unmanageable were kept. Creatures deemed too aggressive, too unpredictable to live freely. Myra's wheelchair hummed softly as it rolled across the smooth concrete floor. At 17, she'd learned how to ignore stares, but here, she could feel more than eyes on her. She could feel the heat of dragons' breaths, their restless pacing, their distrust. The shelter director, a broad-shouldered woman named Kiva, walked beside her, clearly uneasy. "Mira, I have to remind you, these dragons aren't like the ones in your storybooks. Some were rescued from illegal fighting rings, others from owners who didn't treat them kindly. We keep visitors away for a reason." "I know," Mira said quietly, her gaze steady. "But you let volunteers interact with the calmer ones, right? I just want to see them. All of them." Kiva hesitated. "There's one you should definitely not get close to. Enclosure 6. His name's Reeker. Brought in last winter. Attacked 3 handlers. Nearly burned down half the shelter. As if summoned. A deep growl rolled down the hallway. Myra's head turned toward it. Through the thick bars, she saw him, scaled in deep crimson, his horns curved like scythes, eyes glowing gold like molten coins. Even from 10 meters away, the heat radiating off him prickled her skin. Most visitors avoided his enclosure entirely. Mira rolled forward. "Stop," Kiva warned. "He'll lash out." But Myra's hands rested lightly on her wheels. "He's not lashing out right now. He's watching." And he was. Reeker's gaze was fixed on her, unblinking, following every movement. "Hi," she whispered. Kiva muttered under her breath, but didn't pull her away. The dragon shifted, a low rumble vibrating the air. It wasn't a growl, not exactly. More curious. He lowered his head to the bars, nostrils flaring as he inhaled deeply. "You smell like wind," Mira murmured, half to herself. "Not fire, not fear." She leaned closer, ignoring the faint whiff of sulfur. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. Then, without warning, Reeker shoved his massive snout through the bars. Kiva tensed, ready to yank Myra's chair back, when something unexpected happened. The dragon exhaled, not in a blaze, but in a warm, gentle breath that ruffled Myra's hair. It smelled faintly of cedar smoke. His gaze softened, lids lowering slightly. "Mira," Kiva whispered sharply, "you need to—" But Reeker interrupted with a sound no one in the shelter had ever heard from him, a low, resonant purr. The entire room stilled. Even the other dragons quieted, as if sensing something unusual. Kiva's mouth fell open. "He's never done that. Ever." Mira smiled faintly, lifting her hand. "May I?" she asked, looking at Kiva. The director hesitated, then nodded once. Slowly, Mira extended her fingers toward the dragon's snout. Instead of snapping, Reeker pressed into her palm, the heat of his scales pulsing like a heartbeat. She stroked him gently, feeling the texture, smooth near the nostrils, rougher along the ridges. "You're not angry," she murmured. "You're hurt." The word seemed to anchor him. His breathing slowed, the tension in his massive frame easing. From behind, a handler whispered to another, "That's impossible. He tried to kill me last week." Mira didn't look away from Reeker. "They were afraid of you," she said softly, "so you thought you had to be afraid of them." Something flickered in his golden eyes. A memory, perhaps. And then, in an act that froze every witness in place, the dragon lowered himself all the way to the ground, chin flat, exposing the vulnerable underside of his neck. Submission. Trust. Kiva stepped closer, her voice a mix of awe and disbelief. I've been working here 15 years. I've never seen a dragon, especially him, do that for anyone. Mira reached further, her hand brushing that warm, unarmored skin. Everyone needs someone who doesn't flinch. The rest of the visit blurred into murmured astonishment. Handlers came to watch, whispering as the once feral dragon allowed Mira to touch his face, trace the base of his horns, even scratched the spot beneath his jaw that made his eyelids droop. By the time Mira wheeled herself back toward the exit, Rika was pressed against the bars, following her retreat with a low, almost mournful sound. Kiva caught up to her in the hall. I don't understand how you did that. Mira shrugged lightly. I've been stared at like I'm dangerous too. You stop trying to be liked. You just wait for someone to see you. Kiva studied her for a long moment. Would you come back tomorrow? Mira smiled. Only if he wants me to. From down the hall, the answering rumble was unmistakable. When the shelter released its public update the next week, the headline spread across the city. Aggressive dragon calms for first time, with teen in wheelchair. But for Mira, it wasn't a miracle. It was just the first time someone had met Rika without fear. And for the dragon, it was the first time someone had met him, not his reputation.